Hey, what is going on, guys? Welcome back to another video by Photo. Today I'm going to be reviewing the newest JRPG called Scarlet Nexus. And before we get started, if you want to know how I calculate the score at the end for my reviews, I do have a video so you can check it out, because that I go over how I do my reviews and how the score is calculated at the end. And secondly, all of the gameplay footage is by me, and it is going to be from the Xbox One, but mostly Series X, or I'll try to get most from the Series X. Now, if I have a cutscene, that might be from me, that might be from YouTube, because it's kind of more easier and more convenient, and the cutscene is the exact same thing, whether or not I record it or I rip it off YouTube. So yeah, without any further ado, let's get started with this review. Story. So as always, I'm going to start with the backstory, and the backstory is that the setting, it takes place in a futuristic world. However, believe it or not, the year is actually 2020 for them, but their year doesn't match ours because their society is way more advanced than ours. I say that because the people in the society, they've actually found a way to talk with their brains, which is actually very interesting. And on top of that, almost everyone, they have some sort of like special power. And our two protagonists, they have the same power, and it's psychokinesis, which is a power to move things with your mind. Now, both our two protagonists, Kasane and Yuito, they're part of a government organization called the OSF. Now, the OSF, you can think of them as like a military slash spy agency slash Avengers type of organization. Yeah, I know, it's kind of weird, but just know that like they work for the government and they try to fight these creatures called others. Now others, what they are is they're like these weird alien, not creepy, but like kind of dark looking, creatures, and they actually wreak havoc on the citizens of Suo, which is the main town or the main place which the game takes place in. And yeah, and OSF, their goal is to fight others and do other things, but I believe their main goal is to, defeat others and keep the citizens safe. Now that we got the backstory out of the way, now I'm going to assess the story. So, at the face value, the story is amazing. In fact, if you look at it from a fun perspective, I enjoyed the story. It starts out at being fun, lighthearted, and then like right away by chapters 2/3, it gets dark, and it stays dark for the entirety of the game. And I mean dark in a good way, like not in a bad way. Additionally, the story is dual perspective, so if you want, the gist of everything, you should probably play the game twice. One time by one of the protagonists, and the second time by the other protagonist. As for who should you play first, I'm gonna say Yuito, and in fact I've talked to other people, who play the game, and they also say that, Yuito is probably the one you should play first. And the reason why we say that is because like there's some plot elements which are told right away from Kasane's story, which actually kind of are like a big twist in Yuito's story. So if you know the twist right away, then it's not gonna be super fun. This is why we say play Yuito first, that way those twists are actually like they're twists and not just like you're told right away or beforehand. But there is one major downside, and it is that the story, it wasn't executed well enough. What I mean by this is that it could have been better, and the story would have actually been as a whole way better. I mean, it's not bad, but it's just that there's just a few things which kind of annoy me from the story, and I'll tell you guys what they are. And before I say them, you guys should note that these are going to be minor spoilers, not really, because like I'll say some of the things which happen, but I'm not gonna say any names or nor give like any context, so you guys will just know like vague details of the events which happen. So it shouldn't really be a spoiler, but I am going to give you guys I guess you could say a minor spoiler warning. So I'll give you guys about 2 seconds to skip to this timestamp where I just go over the score, and yeah. The first example I'll give is that at some point in the story, there is a conflict slash tension between two characters, and it's actually supposed to be a big deal because it actually is like a major twist in the story. However, the only problem with this is that I personally feel like this problem gets resolved way too quick. Now granted, there is a boss fight, like before it gets solved, but like this boss fight could have happened like a little later. They could have stretched this conflict out a little longer. It could have been better, but in fact we could have seen some character growth as well. However, we don't see that here. Instead, like, it kind of gets resolved in I would say, like, a very cheap way, which doesn't sit right with me. The second example I'll give is that at some point in the game, one of the protagonists, they have a choice whether or not they should take someone's life or not. Now, as you may already know, taking someone's life is definitely not an easy choice to make. And the game does show this well, because like in the scene which they're questioned upon this, they're like, should I kill them or not? And they act kind of, you know, like bummed out because they don't want to take someone's life, actually. However, what doesn't sit right with me is that in the next scene, they've basically are firm and have made a choice. And I'm like, huh? This quick? Why did you suddenly decide, yes, I'm gonna kill them? Because a second ago, you were basically like, you know, like confused and weren't sure what to do. Though I do want to be honest, I might actually be wrong and this was actually fully intended, where they make a choice like right away, and it's, you know, it's a rush choice actually. Because like even the party members, they're like, what the hell, we can't just take someone's life, and that's not a good thing to do. So like they even, you know, criticize, you know, the protagonist's choice, you know, to take their lives or take someone's life. And the third example I'll give is that at some point in the game, someone eventually does die, but I don't feel sad for them. And this is really unfortunate because like this character, they were supposed to be very important to the, you know, to the story, but they just don't feel important enough for me. Or like, I guess you could say the story, it didn't show to me that I should care for this character so much so that I'm gonna feel sad when we lose him, which is really unfortunate because I think that they were trying to attend that, oh, feel sad, this person's dying, and I'm like, I don't feel sad because I don't even know who this person really was, basically, because we saw so like little of them. And if you are wondering if there's a connection between these two examples, and the answer is no, these two examples are mutually exclusive, so there's no connection whatsoever, so don't worry about that. And the last thing I'm going to talk about in story category are the Bond episodes. Now you might be asking, what are Bond episodes? The Bond episodes, they're basically like, they can either be a cutscene or like you play through like a map in the game, and it's basically supposed to, you know, build/develop the characters, and it's supposed to build a bond between the party members and the protagonists. So you can think of them as like the heart-to-heart episodes from the Xenoblade series. But I would argue and say that the reward that you get for doing them is actually a lot better than it was in the Xenoblade series. I say that because the better bond you have between the two characters, the more perks you'll gain in battle, and secondly, your SAS can last longer. Now you might be like, well, what's SAS? Now SAS, basically, I'll get into more when I talk about the combat or gameplay part, but for now, just note that it's a timed thing when you borrow your party members' powers, and it also has a cooldown time. So if you have a better bond, I believe the time that you have to use the power lasts longer, and the cooldown time is going to be shorter. So the TLDR is that you definitely want to do these Bond episodes because the benefits you get for doing them is definitely worth it. However, I will say that not all the Bond episodes, they were super interesting, because some of them, they were kind of boring, so, you know, just be aware of that. So overall, in the end, in the story category, I'm going to give it a solid 7 out of 10. And let me explain why. So I'm giving it a 7 out of 10 because I, like, again, even though the story did have some flaws and I think it could have been better, however, for what we got, I did have fun and I did enjoy it. Like, it was not a snooze fest, so when I think of a score, I thought of both a fun factor and a critical factor, and then I combine them into one, you know, score, and I think a 7 out of 10 is a decent score to give for the story part. Gameplay. So you might be having two questions in your mind right now. What type of gameplay is this game, and is it any good? And the answers to both of those questions are, number one, it is a live-action JRPG, or that's what it's supposed to be, and it's a very fun game in my opinion. And you might say, it's supposed to be a live-action JRPG, and I say that because, like, to me, this game doesn't really feel like a traditional JRPG. Like, to me, it feels more like a game like Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order or a Dark Souls type game to me. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing, because it actually does work well in the game. Like, to me, it comes off as a live action fighter type beat 'em up type game, which has some RPG elements such as leveling up. You have other party members as well. You have items to equip. You have like, you know, some side quests. You have like, you even have what do you call a skill tree. Yeah, like it's kind of like a weird thing, its own thing, but don't worry, it's still very fun to play. So now I'm going to talk about the combat in more details. Alright, so as you guys may already know, this game's main gimmick is psychokinesis, or the ability to move things with your mind. But don't worry, that's not the only thing you do, because otherwise, you know, just spamming psychokinesis would be pretty darn boring if you ask me. You also have regular melee attacks, and these attacks are very important because as you do these, you'll fill up the psychokinesis gauge little by little, which then when you use psychokinesis, the gauge is going to deplete little by little as well. Now additionally, you have a thing called SAS. Now what SAS is basically you borrow your party member's power. Now again, everyone in the OSS, they have some sort of power. So like, you know, it just happens there are two protagonists, their two powers are psychokinesis, but our party members, they can have like a power such as, you know, firepower, electricity, duplication, you know, invisibility, etc. Now on top of that, there's a thing called the brain drive, and what brain drive basically means is when this is active, it's going to be a buff state where basically you'll take less damage, you'll deal more damage, and you'll actually gain more XP as well. And lastly, there's a second buff state called brain field. Now this one is actually my favorite, you know, buff, because basically you deal like a shit ton more damage compared to brain drive and like regular mode as well. And however, the only catch is that you can't use any of the SAS. You can only use psychokinesis, whereas in brain field you could use, you know, SAS. But honestly, that doesn't matter because the amount of damage you're dealing is pretty good enough. In fact, you'll pretty much drain the enemy's health bar very, very fast. So don't worry about that. Plus, on top of that, there's a skill tree, you know, which after you unlock it, you basically are invincible in brain field. So that's very, very overpowered as well. Now you might be asking, so Falta, what's the difference between the two protagonists' playstyle? And I'm gonna be honest, there's not that much difference. There is some differences. For example, at the start and by default, Yuito, he's going to deal more damage, but he'll only hit one enemy at a time, whereas Kasane, she'll deal less damage, but she can hit multiple enemies at once. However, this only applies to the melee attacks, as when it comes to SAS, brain drive, brain field, they both have access to, you know, all of those things. Alright, now let's talk about some of the downsides in the gameplay category. So the first thing I had to touch upon are the side quests. They are a total letdown and it's very unfortunate. I might be asking, why is that? Well, the answer is that you see, first of all, the backstory you get for the side quests, they're kind of boring, which I mean, I'll give them a pass because they are side quests and not all side quests can be, you know, super interesting and fun. Secondly, the effort you put into the side quests, or some of them, it's kind of tedious. Like they'll say, defeat this enemy with a mid-air attack. Now, by defeat, they mean like the enemy must die by you doing a mid-air attack, which I mean, that's kind of tedious. And then the reward you might get for this type of side quest is going to be like 3 health packs. Now you might say, what's wrong with 3 health packs? Is that good? And the answer is, well, yeah, I mean, on their own, health packs are good, but the problem is that you can just buy health packs, and secondly, you can probably find one for free if you just explore the maps. So what I'm trying to get at here is that I just wish that the reward matched up with the effort you put into the side quest. Like honestly, I wouldn't mind, you know, doing these tedious side quests if the reward was actually worth it. And the second thing I wish the game could have done better are traversing through the maps. Now I'm not trying to say that the environment themselves are boring, because no, they actually looked very, you know, nice and beautiful, but what wasn't interesting is that just walking around felt boring because like basically the land was just flat, and yeah, there were a few, like I guess you could say staircases or ramps, but that's about it. I just wish that the game could have been a little bit like Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order when it comes to the map, where like it's very dynamic and there's lots of platforming areas, and you know, that could have made it fun by just walking around. Alright, so in the end, the gameplay category is going to get an 8 out of 10 from me. And I'm taking off 2 points mainly because the side quests are lacking and the map traversing is lame. And again, I want you guys to remember that the combat is very good. So, and I do believe that, you know, they were trying to focus or have their main focus on the combat versus, you know, side quests and, you know, like walking around the map, which is why the map is like flat. Now at the same time, this is a AAA game, or I believe it's supposed to be a AAA game. So, you know, that's why I am only taking off 2 points for that. But yeah, overall, you know, I did enjoy the gameplay of this game. Art style. If you made it this far into this video, you probably can tell that the art style, it's not aiming for realistic visuals, but it is aiming for, like, you know, more unique anime stuff. And honestly, I'm quite fine with that because, quite frankly, not all games need to, you know, be the next real life simulator, guys. Like, you know, some games can have their own unique look and, you know, cartoonish look, and, you know, and it works out pretty fine. Now let's talk about the cutscenes for a minute, because you see, this game does have some fully motion capped cutscenes, but the majority of the cutscenes, they're like these stills cutscene, but then they'll show like the people's faces as a close-up, and like their faces will move or animate as they talk. But the background scene is going to be like a bunch of stills. Like, it's weird. It's like, I don't know, I've never seen a game like that, because like either games, they have fully motion cutscenes, or they'll have just like a text, and sometimes it's voiced, sometimes it's not voiced. And I will admit it, at first glance, I did not like this. However, it kind of grew on me. Yeah, I mean, in fact, I don't even mind it anymore, actually. In fact, I like, because I play this game now, like in my mind, whenever I see them, I just imagine fully motion cutscene. Like, I don't think that, oh look, it's these unique cutscenes, etc. So yeah, I don't really have much else to say in this category. I'm gonna give it a perfect score. Music. Just like the last category, I don't really have much to say in this category as well, so it's probably going to be short as well. And yeah, overall, I think the music was fine. It didn't really wow me, but it wasn't terrible, so I'll give it that. It felt, you know, just above average to me. There's only one song which I felt was like really good, and the song was called Opposed Viewpoint. It is played at a specific boss battle, which I won't say because of spoilers. So I'm gonna give this category a 7 out of 10. Polish. The first thing I'm gonna cover is the performance of the game. And just for reference, I played the game a little bit on the Xbox One, the OG one, but I played most of the game on my Series X. So I'm gonna talk about the Xbox One version first. And I gotta say, the game actually ran very well. I was actually surprised. The game does run at 1080p 30, but like it runs very smooth, like, and stable. There's no frame drops whatsoever in the gameplay part. And yeah, I was overall very happy with the performance on the Xbox One. The only time it dropped frames was during the cutscenes, and that was actually kind of funny / weird, because you would think that the cutscenes would actually, you know, have the most stable, because, like, you know, they're actually a bunch of stills, whereas, you know, in the gameplay part, you know, it may drop frame, but nope, it's actually the exact opposite. Moving on to the Series X, the game ran very well. It was 4K 60D for the entire time, no drop frames whatsoever, so that's a great thing to know, because this game actually, you know, it does run at the full 4K 60 on the next gen consoles. Now you might be asking, so was there a big difference between playing on the Xbox One and the Series X? And I'll gotta be honest with you, no. I mean, I think the art style is made in a way where it can be played at a lower resolution without looking bad, and that's a blessing and a curse, actually. It's a blessing because if you have inferior hardware, then you won't be left out, or you'll have the same experience as those who have better hardware. But it's also a curse because if you do happen to have the better hardware, then like there's no, you know, point or benefit of playing on, you know, better hardware. Now granted, yes, on the newer consoles, it is running at 4K 60, so it is sharper and also, I guess you could say, more smoother. But I'm gonna be honest with you, when I'm actually engaged in the combat, I didn't really consider that. Like, I mean, I'm just focused on the game and I'm having fun, so yeah, like it doesn't really feel better playing on the Series X when you're actually in the combat. Now, yes, if you think about it, then obviously, you know, it's gonna look different and be worse on the weaker hardware. But if you don't think about it and you're just playing the game and, you know, thinking about the game actually, then it's gonna be the same thing whether you're playing on 4K, 60 or 30 FPS at 1080p. Now, moving on to bugs, I think I only ran into like 2 to 3 of them, so I was very surprised because I kind of expected to have more bugs, though I know it's unfortunate, but I mean, we do live in a world where we kind of just expect bugs, you know, at launch. But nope, Bandai Namco must have made sure that there aren't any bugs or much bugs in the game because there really weren't that many at launch. However, I did run into one major issue, and it is that my game did crash on me about 3 times. So that means that you will likely get like one crash every 25 hours-ish, and that's not good at all because you don't want any crashes. And I don't know if this is the Bandai Namco's issue or is this the Xbox issue, because it might just be the Xbox too, so I don't know who to blame. Though granted, I'm not gonna take off too many points for this because the game is at launch, so hopefully I'll give them the benefit of the doubt that by the time you're playing or you're watching this, like they would have patched this up and the game's not gonna crash at all. So when taking all this into account, I'm gonna give this category an 8.5 out of 10. Now, how does that work? 1 point is coming off the game crashing on me, and half a point is coming off the game's like dropping frames like heavily on the Xbox One version of the cutscenes. Conclusion. So in the end, when we tally up all the scores, we get about a weighted total of 8.0 out of 10. And the question is, do I recommend this game to you guys? The short answer is yes, but the long answer is it's complicated. I say that because you can try out the demo for the consoles at least. It's up at the time of recording. It might be taken down in the future, I'm not sure. But yeah, try out the demo. If you like the gameplay of it, then you'll love the game because the demo does a good job of showing you what the main game is going to be in terms of combat and gameplay. So if you aren't able to try out the demo, you can always just look at gameplay and then make a choice based on that. But yeah, but part of me is also saying maybe wait for a sale, so don't buy it right away, but maybe wait until, you know, it goes on sale, because I do believe that this game will probably be on sale in some time. I don't know when, but probably, yeah, in a few months or so. So yeah, I mean, you know, so if you have some doubts or any doubts, you know, obviously wait for a sale. But if you want to play it right now and you love the demo or you love the gameplay, then, you know, then buy it now. So yeah, there you had it. That was my review of Scarlet Nexus, and let's see how it compares to the other 2 games which I reviewed. This game is put dead center between Xenoblade 2 and Torna, and that's pretty accurate because I do believe that Xenoblade 2 is a better game out of Scarlet Nexus. But that's not to say that this was a bad game, because I did enjoy this game and it did have some flaws, but I think that the positives, they did outweigh the negatives, so that's a good thing. And yeah, thank you guys for watching this video. If you guys made it till the end, if you could comment below the word Chuck E. Cheese's, or I guess that's 2 words, but yeah, but if you could comment that below, I'll know that you guys have made it till the end. And yeah, as always, I'll catch you guys in the next one.